Will silver and gold save you during times of financial crisis? We've got a growing level of evidence pointing towards the fact that we might just be in trouble. As a silver and gold investor, you're going to be shocked at what you learn today. And what evidence do we have in the past that financial crises do occur? And how did silver and gold perform during those periods? We need look no further than the great financial crisis in '08, the tech bubble in the year 2000, and the list goes on and on. Would we not be naive to think that it could never happen again? But Ted, I have a pressing question for you. This normalcy bias, everybody thinks that it'll never happen again. Are we in a period where we'll never have another financial crisis?
If you're holding real money that's been God's money for thousands of years, I mean, as we talked about before, Judas was paid 30 pieces of silver to drop the dime on Jesus, right? That silver's still around. It doesn't disintegrate. As a matter of fact, when silver goes to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean or Pacific Ocean or where it happens to be, you may think it disintegrates like stock certificates or notes or cash or whatever else. No. There are companies that are situated on the stock exchange that actually have investors to go after certain sunken treasures. Now, why would they go after sunken treasures with silver and gold? Geez, I don't know. Can you? Maybe it's because it's real money. But we had a lot of fun things to get into today. One of the things I just shared with Ron is something I've never done before, is to share my personal currency collection. Answer your question definitively, okay?
So the question being, are we possibly, just possibly, going to have another period of financial turmoil during our lifetimes? Maybe during the next year, right? That's what we're looking at here, and how silver and gold have fared during those times. So I am going to pull up Ted's currency picture. There it is, Ted, on the screen right now.
Okay. So folks, if we could take a look at a couple of these things down in the center, okay, you see the 10 million right mark there. Okay. Underneath of that, what I did was I put one note on top of the other that was blank on the back. The reason being is they ran out of ink. They were printing so much of this. So what I wanted to show you is all the different currency notes that are, not all of them, but that series of currency notes that have been used throughout the world. Now, if we can go, Ron, real quick over to Bank for International Settlements, because I'd like you to know who issues this and who actually got the silver for these notes that you are now holding that are worthless. Okay. So if we go over to the International Bank for International Settlements, we talked about this before, BIS.org. I'll show you who actually creates these currency notes. These are real. Somebody had these things. They folded them up. They carried them in their back pocket. And they used it to buy bread or food or pay rent or pay their taxes or whatever else. So if that is in fact immutable wealth, what am I doing with it? Why would I invest in this? So what I'm trying to tell you is if we had laid down, say, a dime, a silver dime or any piece of silver on any one of those currency notes, those people now would have something actually worth money if they'd have been holding the money. So what are we going to do here is I'd like you to follow along. We're going to go to Central Bank Hub on the front page, and then go to Central Bank and Monetary Authority websites, the second line down. D?
D. All right, let's go to D. D. There is D.
Oh, that only has two central banks. Well, wouldn't it be nice to own the central bank in Denmark? Or how about Dominican Republic? I hear it's warm down there right now. Is it, folks? Anybody tuning in from the Dominican Republic? Or actually, why don't you go on? Because what I'm understanding is 44% of the people watching this are outside the United States. So if you're outside the United States, this website will work for you too. BIS.org. Find out who owns your currency, who owns your bank. And it's the Bank for International Settlements. So if we scroll down some more, let's go past E. Stop right there a minute. What we're looking at here are countries. Countries, folks. These are countries in which the BIS provides the mandatory currency in each and every one of these countries. Right now, they're all fiat. They're all ready to go away exactly at the same time. And when they do, what do you think happens to the BIS.org, Ron?
It probably goes away, collapses as well. I mean, we're looking at this, I think, on a big picture level, Ted. Exactly. This, and we always pull up Exter's pyramid, but this fact that the whole monetary system, everything outside of silver and gold has basically become very synthetic at this point, man-made. kind of like in the cars, and like fake leather in a car, and as we face, you know, a potential for just even parts of that system falling apart, that we could see a wave of new money coming into the silver and gold sector. Is that safe to say?
New money? How about new demand for money? Okay, which is going to be satisfied in currency notes. The respect for the dollar is dying. The usage of the dollar is dying. But one thing is for sure is that the pendulum always swings in both directions. Okay, so we are all fiat right now. All right, and what's going to happen is, bam, that string is going to snap, and the pendulum is going to go whoop right around and stick to the other side for quite a while. Because fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Now, we are the only country on the face of the planet here in the United States whose generations have never seen a currency reset. So if you go back and take a look at those notes, you'll see that some of these countries have had numerous iterations of currency in their country. My question is, when the new currency notes come out, are you redeemed for the old currency notes? And why not, at this point in time, forget about the script? Come on, folks, let's get back to basics. Keep it simple and stupid. Get the money of your country. The money of your country, if you're in the United States of America, are American silver eagles, okay? And pre-65 dimes, quarters, and half dollars. So against the dimes, silver is the best place to be right now, folks.
Ted, I want to throw something in as we're talking about this potential, right? There seems to be overwhelming evidence if we look at this through two perspectives. Number one, historically, which you showed with that big collection of money. It doesn't take much of a study of history to see that over history, currencies have collapsed, right? Especially fiat-based currencies have collapsed. Mm-hmm. Now, if we zoom in on right now, okay, well, let me back up. And we know that when those historic currency crisis had erupted, whether it was in England and France and Spain and the Roman Empire, that silver and gold held their value. Silver and gold held their value. So if we fast forward to today, so we know that history tells us. Now, we know also that today we all suffer from normalcy bias. Some people call it recency bias. Like me, I'm 54 years old. My parents are 80. Even them, like they just have never, the bank has always been a safe place to put the money.
So Ron has just put up something called snowball derivatives, okay? That's where we are right now. And the difference between a snowball derivative and a debt avalanche is when you have a whole bunch of credit cards and you're making a minimum payment and you try to take any extra money at the end of each month to pay down the principal. However, when things get real bad, what happens is the investors out there, they put these bad credit card debts and everything into what's called a derivative, okay? And those derivatives trade within a certain range of each other. But once they trade outside that range, that's when the green arrows go to red and you wind up with, what is a very, very large snowball called? I mean, it's not an avalanche because that would be the side of a mountain coming down. But this is a new economic phenomenon that you will be hearing shortly about what the heck it is and what the heck it was and what it did. I'm telling you what it is before it does and what it's going to affect before it does. Okay. It's going to affect the stock market. Okay. So let's go back to that other slide there, Ron, and let me explain the difference between snowball derivatives and a debt avalanche. So the debt avalanche versus the debt snowball. A debt avalanche, what that does is it prioritizes the interest rate. So obviously, let's suppose you have 20-some credit cards out there. You'd want to start with the highest interest rate first, okay, and then pay more towards the higher interest rate each and every month in order to pay it down a little bit faster. That's a slow way, okay? The other way is where the derivatives simply get wiped out, okay? And as we had talked about before, derivatives and derivative holders have a superior lien on your account. And this is what's called in the Dodd-Frank Act, okay, as a bail-in. So a bail-in, okay, as opposed to a bailout. A bailout is when the government comes down and bails out the banks. That's not going to happen next time. Next time is what's called a bail-in.
Thank you to our sponsors. I want to start with Pimbex, where my finger is there, Pimbex. They sponsor Ron's Basement, online bullion dealer. If you're shopping to buy silver, gold, or platinum online, do yourself a favor, throw them into the mix. I'm never going to tell you what to do, but compare what you can get from Pembex to what you can get from other online bullion dealers. I think you'll find what I found when several of you basement dwellers recommended I check out Pembex, and that is you're going to get the same metal at a better price. You're going to have a great selection and a great customer service experience. I also want to say thank you to Fortuna Silver Mines. I'll be interviewing Jorge Ganoza, the CEO of Fortuna Silver. They just came out with their fourth quarter 2023 numbers. Unbelievable amount of cash flow generated, a company that's been being built over the last 20 years. You can learn more about them at fortunasilver.com. And of course, our friends at First Mining Gold. We have Dan Wilton, the CEO, Keith Neumeyer, the founder and chairman of the company. 2 5 million ounce deposits in Canada. You can learn more about them at firstmininggold.com. Thank you to all our sponsors for making Ron's Basement possible.
Well, why are bail-ins happening? Well, bail-ins are happening because Bill Clinton repealed the Glass-Steagall Act. Let's take a look at the Glass-Steagall Act here. Yep. The Glass-Steagall Act was placed in effect to stop commercial banks from investing in the stock market. So they take deposits that are supposed to be insured and they speculate in the stock market. Well, that was the cause of the Great Depression, because the people that had shorts and margins and all that kind of stuff going on in their accounts, they got out first. They took all the cash. And that's why there was a Great Depression. It was a withdrawal in liquidity. Okay. So what's happened right now is we've had the Glass-Steagall Act repealed by Bill Clinton. It should have never been repealed. The place where you invest your safe money should not be the place where you're investing in the stock market. Okay. So that's what's called the Glass-Steagall Act. And that was designed to be put into place and was put in place in order to stop the Great Depression, remember, happening again. But when Bill Clinton repealed it, there we go.
Maybe there's a reason why Thomas Jefferson said that the biggest threat to our country is not an invading army, but big banks, big central banks. You know, maybe Andrew Jackson was onto something with what he said about central banks and banking in general, that these banks kind of can take over everything and create massive issues. And then they always say, oh, it'll never happen again, right? Like we talked about earlier, it'll never happen again. And the one thing we know, we promise we're better this time. Just we may need you to bail us out in the future. But the one thing we know, if we look throughout history, again, I want to reiterate this point, silver and gold have always acted as a very effective safe harbor, whether it's against banking issues in the United States, Europe, anywhere in the world, fiat, money printing, unicorn fart dust, whatever you want to call it, financial shenanigans, synthetic derivatives, whatever it is, silver and gold have seen the story before, and they've always endured.